Hello, Forecaster here, and I've decided to start a modded Let's Play series. And before I started, I thought I would go over which mods I'll be using, and some of the tweaks I've made. So first we have the core set, which consists of Industrialcraft 2, Buildcraft, Railcraft, Forestry, Biomes of Plenty, Twilight Forest, and Project Red. We also have a couple of add-ons consisting of Nuclear Control for Industrialcraft 2, Buildcraft Editions, and Buildcraft Oil Tweak. Buildcraft Editions I have because it replaces the default Buildcraft refinery with two machines that are multi-blocks, which is a lot more interesting than that thing. Buildcraft Oil Tweak is a very small mod made by Vexados that make oil more deadly, which means don't fall into it. Biomes of Plenty is of course my World Gen mod. I really like what it does with the End and Nether, as well as the things it does in the overworld. Twilight Forest is here for some interdimensional exploration, and Project Red is of course my redstone and logic mod. Then we have some of the less essential mods, and we're starting with easy crafting. And this is a very small mod that I'm certain most people are not familiar with, and it adds these two blocks here. Now this is the one I will be using, called the Easy Crafting Table, and what this does is I have a stack of logs and a stack of iron ingots in my inventory, and it is now showing me all the things I can craft in a regular crafting table with these basic components. And as you can see, there's iron swords, an iron sword in here, and normally I would have to craft the logs into planks and then the planks into sticks and then craft the sword out of the sticks and the iron ingots. But with this I can just take the sword and it will craft the intermediate components for me. This is very handy for things that have several stages, and it's very convenient, and I like it quite a bit. Now this is the auto crafting table, and as you can probably figure out, it pretty much works like the Buildcraft auto crafting table, except it doesn't require any power. And I have disabled the crafting recipe for this block because I'm not a fan of free auto crafting. Next we have Open Computers. It's a very cool mod, adds computers that you build out of components and things like that. We have Pneumatic Craft, which is a tech mod on its own, and adds its own cool things like the helmet thing, providing augmented reality. It's very cool. We have Mariculture, which adds a lot of new fish and enhanced fishing mechanics, as well as fish breeding, and it also adds a casting mechanic with fluid metals, which I also like. And as a companion to Mariculture, we have the Enchiridion mod, which Mariculture uses to add its instruction manuals, and Enchiridion adds a single item on its own called the Bookbinder, which is a container you can carry that only stores books. So it lets you combine multiple books into a single item, essentially decluttering your inventory, which is useful. We have Bibliocraft for more storage and a lot of other cool things, some furniture and stuff. Artifice, which adds a bunch of miscellaneous items like sickles, coins, weapon upgrades. That's a very neat mod. Better storage for even more storage options, such as crates and lockers and other things. Storage drawers, which is a barrel style mod that I've never used before. We have carpenter's blocks, dense ores, Pam's harvest craft for more food, and Balkan's weapon mod. And then we come into mods that don't add things but tweak mechanics or existing things. So first we have smart moving, and this is one of my favorite mods. If you've never used it, it allows you to climb on things. You can crawl into tight spaces. You can wall jump, wall run, run and slide, and lots of things. It makes moving a lot better, enabling you to climb and crawl and get into places where normally you would have to add or remove blocks in vanilla. It's very good. Iguana Tweaks is a mod that changes how you move. It adds an encumbrance mechanic where all the items and blocks have weights, and if you carry too many or too much weight, you will become encumbered and you will move slower, and the more items you carry, the slower you'll become. It also tweaks movement over certain blocks. So moving over stone is pretty close to normal speed, but if you're running over dirt, you will move a bit slower, and if you're running over sand or gravel, you'll move slower still. It also tweaks the stack sizes of certain things. So stone that has a weight of 1 only stacks up to 16, but wood weighs half as much and stacks up to 32. Then we have Hunger Overhaul, which tweaks all the food values of all the foods, even those added by other mods. As you can see, it says morsel on all of these, which means they're pretty low tier food. But if we check the pumpkin pie, it says light meal, which means it has a higher food value than the others. And a baked potato is a nourishing snack, which means it's somewhere in between a potato and a pumpkin pie. Then we have Spice of Life, which is what is adding the blue text. And what it does is, when you eat a food item, if you eat the same thing right after, it won't feed you as much that time. And the more you eat something, the less you'll get out of it. So you'll have to eat different kinds of food to maximize their values. If you eat the same thing over and over again, you'll have to eat a lot more of it. Next we have Enviromine. And Enviromine is what's adding the bars in the bottom corners of the screen. So to the left we have the temperature and the hydration bar, and to the right we have the sanity and air quality bars. And the hydration is how thirsty you are, and to replenish it you can drink water from bowls and things like that. The temperature meter has two black nubs about in the middle. These represent the ambient temperature around you. The white dot is your current body temperature. Since I am in creative right now, none of these are moving. But if I was in survival mode, the white dot would be moving towards the black nubs. And if I was to stand, say near a fire block, the black nubs would jump up into the yellow area towards the red area, because it's hotter near the fire block. And if I was standing near an ice block, the nubs would move down towards the blue area, and the white dot would start to go in that direction as I'm heating up or cooling down. And as your temperature increases, your hydration meter will deplete faster, and you'll eventually die of thirst. And if you get too cold, you'll die of hypothermia, or die of cold. Next we have, and also Environmind also adds block physics. So as I chop down, for example, this tree, the unsupported logs will fall, and this applies to most blocks in the game, even those added by mods. And next I have the Cyanos Lootable Bodies mod, which is a sort of gravestone mod that when I die I will leave a skeleton behind. Although if you are in 1.8 with this mod, you will leave a corpse that has your texture. But this does not work in the backported version. And this skeleton, in my case, will have the items I had when I died, but anything that has durability, such as tools or weapons, will take a bit of damage when I die, but they will never be completely destroyed, even if they only have one durability left. And the corpse is not immune to fire and lava, so if I fall in lava, my items will be lost regardless of this mod. And then we have a bunch of mods that are utilities, or in case of this first one, a visual enhancement mod. So the first one is Better Foliage, and that is what is adding the detail to the trees and to the logs, making them look more round. It also adds this short grass on top of dirt blocks, and it also enhances other things, other plants. It adds grass in shallow water. It adds coral textures to in water on the bottom, and a bunch of other things. It's a very nice mod, and all it does is change how things are rendered in the client. So it does not add any blocks or items, and it doesn't do anything on the server at all. It is completely client-side. And we also have NEI, or not enough items, of course, which is my recipe lookup mod. And for that we also have NEI add-ons, NEI integration, and Wyla, or what am I looking at. And for Wyla we also have the harvestability add-on. Now, as you can see, when I look at blocks, there is no box popping up showing me what it is. What I've done is, if you press your 0 key on your numpad and click Wyla, and there's this option here, and the default is toggled, but I've changed this to maintained, and I've bound the enable key to my F key. So when I hold F, the Wyla box will appear, and show me what I want, the info of the block I'm looking at, and when I release it, it'll go away. And this makes the interface a little less cluttered, which I like. Next we have the Fastcraft mod, which brings some performance improvements. We have the Mine menu mod, which when I hold my T key, I get this radial menu. With buttons I can bind to commands and keys to execute functions from other mods, such as turning on the night vision goggles from Industrial Craft, for example, or execute a command like this Mine Tweaker GUI command. I have Mine Tweaker 3, of course, and Mod Tweaker, as well as the Mine Tweaker Recipe Maker add-on, which adds a GUI for making recipes, as well as removing them, which is very nice and useful. And finally, I have admin commands toolbox installed, which I use to pre-generate the world, a huge chunk of the world I will be playing in, just to avoid chunk generation lag. Now we're going to look at some things I have removed. So beyond the auto crafting table and the refinery, which I didn't remove technically, I have disabled the recipe for the Buildcraft quarry because I'm not a fan of the quarry. I think it's a cheap and crude way of mining. I've also disabled the recipes of the water and windmill from Industrial Craft, and these are the old versions that are just a single block. I will be using the kinetic windmill, which is the new version, and the water mill does not have a finished kinetic version yet. Then we have the kinetic energy buffers from Buildcraft Editions, which I've disabled because I do not want any RF storage at all. And then finally we have these water blocks from Harvestcraft, and since I'm playing with finite water, which is a Code Chicken core setting, I don't want blocks that provide infinite water. You can just right click these with a bucket and get a bucket of water, which I do not like, so they have been disabled. Now we're going to look at a few things I have added. So if we turn on NEI again, and we look at the musket rounds from Balkan's Weapons mod, the original recipe is gone, and instead I've added recipes using nuggets with the different materials giving a different amount of rounds. So a copper nugget gives you 1 round, a iron nugget gives you 2 rounds, and so on. I've also done this for the blunderbuss shot and for the arrow recipe, where the tier 1 is the one using flint, of course. And that is pretty much it. I will of course keep tweaking things as I play, and I will see you in the first episode, which should be coming soon.